Hello and welcome. This is Mr. Successful, and I'm coming to you live. I have in front of me a dear friend who's very close to me and who's very dear to my heart. And right now, she's crying in my office. And I want to share with you. I want to share with you. And right now, she's not going to speak. She's not going to say anything. And rightly so. I appreciate her right to anonymity. And I want to say I'm so sorry. She was terminated about 3 weeks ago, and she's telling me her story. And she has gone from two paychecks in our household. Now she's down to one. And she's talking about getting an attorney, which I don't agree with because personally I think it's a waste of time. I think you'll end up spending more money, more time trying to fight something that's just pointless. And you're a dear friend of mine, and I'm so sorry that you're in my office in tears, crying because you were terminated. And I had mentioned this to you, did I not? Last year, I mentioned this to you last year, and I said I think you need to go to elementary school. I think you need to transfer to elementary school because you would do better there. You would thrive there. You will be successful there. And you ignored me. She's shaking her head. You ignored me. But that's okay. We're all adults. But if you say you're going to get an attorney, I support you. Because this is your pain. This is your loss. And it's unfortunate, especially in a time like this, in economic times like these, you're without a job. And it's very unfortunate. But she's showing me documentation from her special needs kids. And any parent, whether they have special need kids or not, would go out to a school to see about their child. So she has produced documentation that every time she has gone to see about her special needs children, every documentation about illnesses, about internal illnesses, and doctor's notices. And my question to you is, I know you don't want to speak, I know you don't want to say anything. Why were you terminated? What was the reason they gave you for your termination, for your firing, and you've been there just as long as I have? She can't speak. Hold on, let me get you some tissue. Hold on. Let me just get the tissue right there. You see the tissue right there? Go ahead and wow, she's devastated. She's devastated. Losing your job is hard, is difficult, especially you have two special needs children to care for, to take for, and a household along with that. But I wanted to say I'm not sure how these things keep occurring, but I'm not shocked. I can't say that I'm shocked because he did the same thing. The same principal did the same thing to a young lady back in September. This young lady who is Jennifer. Jennifer, I can say her name because I talked to her. She's a friend of mine. Jennifer came to the school that Friday, and on that Friday, she was in crutches. I have my notes and everything here. She was in crutches. She was on crutches, and she had a doctor's notice as well about her absence. And as she went into the office, she met with the principal. She came out and she talked to me because I was sitting down in the cafeteria with my ISS class at that time. And she said to me, she said, he has paperwork on me recommending me for termination, but he wants me to come back Monday. I looked at her the same way I'm looking at my friend, and I said, do not come back out to this school. I was firm. I was direct. And I said, do not come back out to the school. If he has recommended you for termination, you can consider yourself fired. He has already fired you. And she looked at me, well, I need my insurance. And I'm listening to her, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I know you need your insurance, okay, but your time can better be spent going to another school, securing your employment, getting a job, and working there closer to home. You drove an hour away for him to tell you that he's recommending you for termination, and you're producing documentation, your own crutches, that the doctor has said to you, you need to stay home. Why would you come back out on Monday? She ignored my counsel. That's fine. She ignored my counsel. She showed up to work that Monday. She stayed until the end of the business day. And at the end of that business day, Jennifer was told she was terminated. She drove an hour on Friday to get a word, oh, I'm recommending your termination. Then she drives an hour on the following Monday, worked the entire day just to hear, today is your last day. You need not to come out here. I need your keys and your badge. And I told her, you didn't see this coming? I was upset with her. I said, you wasted your day. Nevertheless, she spent the last 3 days to 5 days crying at home in tears, jobless, with no insurance. Well, that's not true, because your insurance doesn't just immediately terminate like that upon your termination. You usually have at least 30 days before COBRA kicks in. So that's not necessarily true. However, she ignored my advice. She ignored great counsel. And I told her not to come back to work on Monday, to go to another school that was closer to home and secure her employment there, rather than wasting time trying to fight for something that her boss at that time had already put into motion, put into progress. And she told me weeks earlier, she said, you know what, Mr. Successful? I said, what? She says, for some reason, I don't think he likes me. And I said to her, why would you think that? What will make you feel that way? And at that time, I was rooting for him. I thought he had the interests of the staff and the children, but I was wrong, because I resigned. I resigned from the alternative educational site, and I had deemed him incompetent. I had deemed him worthless and not good and not fit for the educational institution in which he led. You know, I find it hard to believe, if a teacher can't lead her class from behind her desk, how is it that you can lead a school from behind your desk? 90% of his day is spent sitting behind a desk checking frivolous emails, worthless emails, and he actually thinks he's a leader. And then I finally realized why he terminated my friend, who's sitting here crying. She's incredulous. She can't keep from crying. And I realized why he terminated Jennifer and why he terminated my friend. And it was simply because he wasn't attracted to them. He wasn't attracted to them. He found nothing about them that was flirtatious. So, of course, rightly so, they had to be terminated. They had to be released from their duty, their responsibility, and their obligation. Everybody else that can sit behind their desks, curse kids out, call kids all manner of names, tell kids, I don't have to teach you, I got my education, you need to get yours. That's akin to child abuse. You heard me say it. That is akin to child abuse. And you're supposed to be highly qualified for what? In what? child abuse, and I have documentation from each child that has visited my office to say what each teacher has said to them, and he supports them because ultimately he can flirt with them. He has some fantasy about them. And that's the reason that he's there, doing something inappropriate during instructional time to someone other than his wife. So he doesn't want to be there, and consequently, he doesn't want anybody else to be happy there. So he's unhappy. So everybody else has to be unhappy between him and him being flirtatious. You right. That's right. You heard me say it. Mr. Successful. I'm going to say what I want to say now. Now I have the microphone. Now I'm going to speak. And I have watched him, carefully watched him, and I thought his predecessor was worse. I thought that baboon was worse. I thought that principal was an idiot. You heard me say it, an idiot. An incompetent fool, not fit to be anywhere in a position of authority. And I wrote a 4-page letter on her 3 years ago. I wrote a 4-page letter on her demanding the school board for her termination. But they did okay. They did okay. They just removed her from 2 schools and gave her another school. Let her keep the school that was closer to her home. But in that 4-page letter, I told the school board how she verbally, mentally, and emotionally was attacking other administrators, other teachers, other professionals, substitute teachers, without cause or reason. I have documentation in my office from one substitute teacher that she bust in the classroom. I'm going to take you forward. I'm going to go back to 2009 and 2010. Because this has to be stopped. This disrespect of professionals in the school system. How could you lead kids and you can't lead a staff effectively? You can't govern a staff effectively. How is it that these people are in leadership positions and the only thing they could do is ridicule, disrespect, verbally attack, emotionally attack, harass? You know, this man that terminated my friend, this incompetent fool that terminated my friend, he was harassing me so much so I had to call the associate superintendent of human resources and the director of employee relations and let them know I don't want to be harassed on my job. Only then he stopped coming into my office. Before then, he was in there every day picking at something that was of no value to him or any child at that school. And I figured he had had enough. I had had enough. I had had enough. And it was so subtle. It was so subtle. But he was doing it months prior. I just started noticing it around December of last year. How harassing he was. But he was doing it prior to that. And I didn't catch it. I didn't catch his nefarious acts, evil acts, sinful acts. And he's allowed to do it at the cost of $85,000 a year or more of taxpayers' money. But let me go forward, because this is a history of principals in this county and other surrounding counties. But I'm going to speak about the two that I encountered and I watched them. The only thing I didn't do was video record them, and I should have been doing that. But my first year with the first incompetent principal, 90% of the staff had agreed that she had, as a matter of fact, Jefferson told me, he said, Mr. Successful, he said that lady had jumped up and screamed at us so loud for so long, I thought she was going to have a heart attack. And I looked at Jefferson. Now, this is a much older man. He has me probably by 20 years or 25 years. So he could be my father. I said, Jefferson, that lady did not scream at you all. He said, Carson, Mr. Successful, I don't have no reason to lie. I asked the other staff members, and they all agreed we will not be here next year. A behavioral coach, a young lady that specializes in analyzing behavioral disorders, looked me in my face and said, Mr. Successful, you need to come with us. I didn't attend the meeting, so I couldn't say what she did. But 90% of the people that year from that meeting transferred to another school at the end of that year. And this young lady that was certified in analyzing behavioral disorders looked at me and said, this is not the person to work for or with. And I was like, well, and this was my exact words in 2009, she doesn't intimidate me. I'm not afraid of her or anyone else on earth. I'm going to stay. So the next school year, after they left, I watched her closely. I watched her allow teachers to come late, leave early. I watched her use a flunky. This was his first year to this school, to this county, and under the collective bargaining agreement of the school board, all new employees are under a 97-day probationary period, which simply means you can be terminated without cause or reason within that 97-day probationary period. Mind you, me and some people, they're on their way to my office. Me and some people watched this flunky in his 97-day probationary period. Because I was in disbelief. I was like, this lady can't be the woman that you all are talking about. 55 plus days out of his 97 days, 55 plus days, he was late. And even after the 97 probationary period, he was still late. And what's even sadder, he, along with others that were late, that she allowed to be late, was signing in at a different time than the actual time that they were due to come into the office. So not only was that a violation of county policy, but that was a federal violation, because that's federal money. That's federal money and state money that you're getting for the hours that you're not there. And she allowed it. She allowed it. I copied and pasted the time cards and I sent it to the district along with a 4-page letter telling the district about the egregious acts that this lady was doing, and I demanded her termination from the school board effective because she was incompetent. She allowed this man who had just showed up to the schools to be late every single day, and 95% of the day he was on Facebook. 95% of the day he was on Facebook. Everybody had watched him. He was on Facebook during instructional time, not teaching, not educating anyone, but on Facebook. And you know what he got for it? Did he get terminated? Was he called in and reprimanded? Was he written up? Was he given a verbal warning? No. You know what he got for it? He got Teacher of the Year. And no one said a word. None of the teachers from the year before. And I went and asked. I said, excuse me. I said, hold on. I asked several teachers. I said, you were out here last year. Why didn't you make an argument? How is it that I was out here last year? I never had discipline problems. I was teaching my students. I gave my students 100%. And I didn't get Teachers of the Year. And you know what they simply said to me? They said, Mr. Successful, I don't care. I got that from 2 different teachers. Highly qualified. Say, I don't care. I don't care anything about that. I said, wow, maybe it's the competitive spirit in me. Because the same thing happened to me. She did the same thing to me. She found it necessary to call on me when she needed help with ESE kids. She felt it necessary to call on me when she needed a vacancy filled and children were running rampant and children were running wild and uncontrolled and untamed. So she called on me, Mr. Successful, I need your help. Mr. Successful, I need you in this class. Mr. Successful, I need you in that class. Mr. Successful, help that teacher out. That teacher doesn't know what he's doing. And I'm like, isn't that teacher highly qualified? How is it that the teacher is highly qualified and they don't know what they're doing? Why am I with them? I'm not here to babysit teachers. And then that same year, after she moved me 12 different times, I've documented it, 12 different times. You know who got Employee of the Year? A young man that was late every day, 5 days a week, 30 to 45 minutes late. One day, he was supposed to show up to work 7 o'clock. He showed up to work 10:45. And you know what his excuse was? I didn't have gas money. People came to me and said, Mr. Successful, why don't you talk to your friend? I said, first of all, he's not my friend. He's a co-worker. I don't know him like that. And if he's late, I'm not his boss. That's his boss's job to correct his tardiness, not mine. He got Employee of the Year and he spent 6 months walking around the school sipping coffee. 6 months. They had no assignment for him. Waste of taxpayers' money. 6 months he walked around the school late every day. Every day, 5 days a week, sipping coffee. And she had me running around the school putting out fires from highly qualified staff members who couldn't control their class. And he was the one she gave Employee of the Year to. I said gave. He wasn't nominated. The person that walked around the school 6 months sipping coffee. The next year, it even got worse. Next year, the next following year, I did the same exact thing. No one couldn't do what I did at that alternative ed school. I put my money and my life on it. No one in the district could do what I did at that alternative ed school. No one. The same young lady that had the certification in analyzing behaviors, she sent me a message one time, and that message said, "I've seen you in the classroom and you are masterful." You are masterful. So no one could do what I did in the 4 years I was there. I could do it in my sleep. Why? Because I am passionate about education. I am passionate about the child. I am passionate about student gains and student knowledge and students gaining and being successful. And I'm gifted, by the way. But she did it. She did it again. She gave the Employee of the Year to a lady who I witnessed with my own eyes, verbally attacking students. She was using profanity towards students. Words you wouldn't even use in the back of a bar. Not inside of the bar, but the back of the bar. She would curse every student out who got out of line. And a student came to me in tears, crying uncontrollably. And I said, "What's wrong?" She said, "Mr. Successful," she said, "this lady is back here calling me." I'm not going to even say the kind of names this lady had said in this broadcast. But trust me when I say this. I saw it with my own two eyes. The language. And all I could think of is, in my mind, wow, I wish I was the superintendent. I wish I was the superintendent. Because I said, from where I stand, I can't do anything about it. But I did. I wrote another 4-page letter initiating the investigation of that incompetent, abusive, foolish, ignorant woman. She was sitting up in an ISS class, didn't even have a degree, didn't even have a 4-year degree, didn't have teaching experience. Why are you watching? Why are you monitoring kids and trying to manage kids? And you are abusive to them. And I have 10 kids who can verify that she had verbally attacked them with words you wouldn't use in front of your grandmother. And you know what she got for it? Did she get terminated for that? No. Did she get terminated? Did she get fired? Did she get written up? Was there a verbal warning? She got Employee of the Year for cursing kids out, for verbally attacking kids, assaulting kids, which is a charge. They did an investigation on her and she was scared to death. Rightly so, she should have been. You're worthless. If I see you, I'm going to tell you to your face, you are worthless. You have no earthly significance. If the only thing you can do is curse kids out and make kids feel less than, to me, you are worthless. Because that's past unprofessional. Besides the fact that it's egregious, it's immoral, and you should have been terminated and thrown out on the street with the rest of the detritus. She got Employee of the Year. That's how they award people for abusing kids. You get Employee of the Year. Have you ever heard of anything like this in your entire life? But I wrote a 4-page letter on her as well. Not only did I write one on the first principal, a 4-page letter, but I wrote a 4-page letter on her too, demanding the immediate investigation and termination of such a staff member who has been witnessed by several children and staff members using profanity towards a child. And I don't care, let me say this, I don't care how bad the child is. You signed up for it. You signed up for it. And if you signed up for it, you can unassign for it. But she stayed until the end of that year. She stayed until the end of that year. I don't know what happened to her, and I could care less. I know one thing is for sure. Those kids and all the kids in this county deserve better. They deserve better. And both principals are incompetent. I have no idea. Both are. One is a pimp that's impersonating a principal, and the other one is a thug impersonating a principal. You're not a principal. You should resign and find a rock to crawl up under. That's what both of you should do. Resign effective immediately and find a rock to crawl up under. You're utterly worthless. Utterly worthless. And if you see me, the only thing you can do is bow down and tell me how great Mr. Successful is. Because neither one of you could do what I do or do what I did. Neither one of you. I was in a class and the state mandated for a middle school classroom. I believe the last time I checked it was 25 kids. 25 kids. And I had repeatedly asked them, I said, don't y'all have other teachers? I've already have 25, 27 kids in my science class. Don't y'all have other highly qualified teachers here you can spread some of this out to, some of these kids out to, rather than putting them all in one class with me? So I rose to the challenge again, like most competitive men do and most competitive women do. I rose to the challenge. The assistant principal leaned his head into my shoulder and said, "You're the only one I trust to do this." And I led 60 kids in the classroom single-handedly. Single-handedly. No assistants. Never calling a dean. Never yelling for help. One time, I was yelling to the top of my voice because a young man had said, "Fight, fight, fight, fight," in a class. And I said to myself, if I let a fight break out here, the administrators would have won, because I know deep down inside, they tried to set me up to fail. They were in their office laughing. He will never ever manage 60 kids. This will be his breaking point. He's not as tough as he looks. He's not as smart as he looks. And I knew personally in my heart they set me up to fail, because they could have spread those kids out to other classes. You have highly qualified members in your school, but they didn't. They chose to put a reading unit in my class, which was 33 children. My science class, which had 27 kids. Then next door to me was an ESC teacher who was calling out. So I had an ESC class, a ESC self-contained class in the middle of a reading class and a science class. And the dean of that year, who was incompetent, the dean of that year was dropping kids off to me because she claimed that ISS was full and would I do her a favor? I said sure, because 99.9% of the kids listened to me and I had no real issue with. So for over a semester, close to 9 weeks, I managed, I taught, successfully tested 60 plus kids. And during the time the young man was screaming, "Fight, fight, fight," I had raised my voice so loud that I made sure everybody in the classroom heard me when I said this. The principal walked into the classroom. And the young man looked at the principal and said, "You better control this man." I said, "He don't have to control me." I said, "I can watch 100 kids and everybody will do what I tell them to do. Will be seated in their seat, paying attention, on task, doing their work, and nobody will get harmed." You know what the principal did? He stuck his hands in his pocket, he bowed his head, and he walked out the door. Because the truth of the matter is, he knew I had won. And he wasn't man enough to look me in my face and tell me that he had never seen anybody in his life superior to me that could manage a class of alternative ed kids, kids who had been expelled, kids who had gotten kicked out of school, kids who had been known to hit teachers. How is it that you can do it, Mr. Successful? That's why I call myself that. If you want to know, let it be known. That's why the kids call me that, and that's why I acknowledge myself. That's why I coined the term for myself, because nobody has ever in any school that I have been to since 1990 has managed and taught 60 kids single-handedly. And I did it. And you know what? I didn't even get Employee of the Year. I got nowhere near close. 3 years. 3 years have passed. And you know who got Employee of the Year? A secretary who sits behind her desk 90% of the day, watching videos and listening to music. Watching videos and listening to music 90% of the day. That's what I got for turning in grades, turning in point sheets, doing tests every 2 weeks, teaching for half the pay. That's what I got. Thank you. You're a good employee. That's what I got in return. You're a good employee. That's what I got for managing 6 kids. You're a good employee. And they gave Employee of the Year to a young lady that sits behind her desk watching videos and listening to music. And I finally said, after I found out he was a man with no integrity, because August 20th of 2012, I looked at him listening to my new assignment, which was the ISS supervisor. I said, "That's a teacher's position, and I want $40,000. That's a teacher's position. He looked at me and he said, when the school board calms down, I'm going to find out about that money because there's a code for that. There's a code for that, and I'm going to find out. But let the school board calm down. And I'm thinking to myself, what, the school board has alligators and monkeys and zebras and orangutans down there now? Why does the school board need to calm down? But I left it alone. September passed. I went back to him and I said, hey, you haven't forgotten about me. I need that pay. I'm doing the job. This is a teacher's position. ISS, even though it's a non-instructional position, teachers all across that county and in Orange County are paid $40,000 to run ISS. I'm not going to do it for less than $40,000. Yes, I got you. Just his rebuttal was, wait till the school board calm down. He kept saying that. A thug in a suit impersonating the principal. That's all he is. From the projects of New York. That's all he is. October passed by. Now I had went to him 5 times. 5 times. And I said to myself, later on that evening, sitting quietly, I said, you know what? He's not trying to find out about your pay. He's not going to find out about your pay. He could care less about your pay. He could care less. Now it's November 2012. Now he's on the PA system at 8:30 in the morning and 1:15 in the afternoon, begging the staff and harassing the staff for $25. And I did the calculation. Teachers were supposed to contribute $25, and non-instructional staff was supposed to contribute $15 towards Thanksgiving. And you probably say, Mr. Successful, what's wrong with that? We had to bring a dish too. So a history teacher came to me and said, Mr. Successful, what is that $25 for? I said, well, I'm not sure. He said, we got to bring a dish. So what is the $25 actually for? I said, I really never thought of it. Because the year before, we did the same thing. And no one ever asked, what was it for? No one ever asked. All these highly qualified people. But he was able to ask. He said the question to me, what is it for? And then he concluded, I'm not giving them anything. And I said, you know what? You got a point. I said, I'm not giving them anything either. And an English teacher followed suit. Because we couldn't determine, why are you in the middle of an instructional day? Why are you at the end of instructional day harassing staff members about money and there's no accountability? And the teachers and the staff don't know what the money is really for. You say it's for a Thanksgiving celebration, but everybody is bringing a dish. And at the end of that year, in December, he had a private dinner. He had a private dinner with the other administrators. Guess where some of the money he used to feed himself and the other administrators came from? Disgraceful is the word. Utter disgraceful. And I had decided in December while I was in my office, I had said I'm going to resign. I was reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad in my office because I was the ISS supervisor. So it wasn't no need to, it's a non-instructional position. How I wanted it to be ran, it would have created room to give instructions, but he didn't want that. He wanted me to run it like a jail. He called me into his office and said, I need you to be mean to the kids. And I said, and I said to myself, I can't believe he just said that. With the dean sitting to my left and the assistant principal sitting behind me, he says, I needed to be like solitary confinement in there. And I'm thinking to myself, what is that going to prove? I'm not going to take my gift, my talents, and use it to be a correctional officer. I can be of much more help to them than running an ISS room like it's solitary confinement or being mean. I couldn't believe he told me I needed to be mean to the kids. And I wish I would have recorded it. I thought that was an utter waste. And I said I would resign. And I found myself changing. And I said I need to resign from this place because he was toxic. Les Brown called it relational sickness. There is scientific proof that relationships professionally and intimately can make you sick. And this past February and March, I had never been so sick in my entire life. And it wasn't until I resigned and turned in my resignation letter, my health had started to improve. He was toxic. Here it is. I was in my office reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, How to Retire Young and How to Retire Rich. And on page 206, he described his dad in that book as the man being the head of education for the state of Hawaii. And he had retired, and he was poor. His health was poor. So he was financially poor and he was physically poor. But he was the very educated and the head of education for the state of Hawaii. And his father had died depressed because he had watched all his friends who wasn't as educated as he was make millions and millions of dollars. And he thought, how is it that they don't have the education I have, but they're far richer and far happier than I am? And I'm sitting here in retirement watching TV for 20 years. And the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad said his father had concluded at the end of his educational career, people really didn't care. They don't care. He doesn't care that he's terminated 2 ladies he's not attracted to, that they have children they have to care for, they need insurance. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. But the lady, the other staff members who can flirt with kids, who kids have come up to tell me, say, Mr. Carson, you know that teacher doesn't have on any underwear. And I say to the student, how would you know? Well, she showed us. So now you have a pedophile working at the school, showing kids that she doesn't have underwear on. Middle school boys, she's showing this to. And other kids have verified it. A young man also she allowed a young man to videotape her not having any underwear on. And she pretended that she didn't know. That's the disgusting part. And it wasn't until the science teacher next door to her told her, if you don't tell, I'm going to tell. She actually went and told the school. So you have a pedophile teaching kids, pretending to be a teacher. Utterly disgusting. Sitting in class, using profanity towards children, teaching, well, not teaching because she passed out dittos. I don't know how they can construe that as teaching. How they somehow have, negated them passing out dittos is equivalent to teaching. Handing out copies from a printer is teaching. I don't know how these highly qualified people say that's teaching. Unbelievable. So the children have said she uses profanity. She tells them, I don't have to teach you anything. When she gets upset, she sits behind her desk and said, I'm not going to teach you today. Flirting with boys, letting them know she doesn't have on any underwear. She gets to keep her job. She gets to keep her job. She gets to take care of her family. Because why? He's attracted to her. He finds her attractive. So the people they find attractive, or the people that bring them gossip, they're the ones that get to keep their job. The people that tell them who's coming late, who's leaving early, what kid is bringing an apple to a teacher. I've never seen anything like this in all my life. He actually has somebody that doesn't have a 4-year degree, doesn't have any teaching experience, doesn't have any discipline experience, and she's a computer manager, a network manager. How is it that she's escorting kids from class to the office? No other school has a network manager escorting kids from a classroom to the office. No other school, no other principal. But she brings him gossip, all the latest gossip around the campus, so she gets to keep her job. The pedophile, pretending to be a teacher, she gets to keep her job. And the network manager has been under investigation for touching kids. Kids have already told their parents, she's touching me. She puts her hands on me. She's already been under investigation. And after the investigation was concluded, you know what happened? Before I resigned, he still has the same lady going to escort kids from classroom, putting her hands on children. You have to see this to believe it. You have to see it to believe it. It's like a zoo. And they should close the school down. That's what they should do. Close the school down. Because they don't service the needs of the client. Which an administrator told me some years ago. Miss Kearse told me years ago, Mr. Successful, those are your clients. Those are the people that's going to elect you if you get in politics one day. Those are the people that's going to elect you when you do something significant, when you aim for your goals and your dreams. They are the one, your clients. They don't service the need of the client. Who is the client? The child. the child. When parents send their children to school, they expect their children to feel safe, not to be cursed out by the principal. Because a student also told me that. A student told me that. Say, hey, Mr. Successful, you know he pulled me aside and he told me if I don't get my together, he was going to get rid of my. That's what the principal whispered in a child's ear. The principal. And last time I checked, I'm going to listen to the client. I'm going to listen to the client and I'm going to do right by the client. And I want the school board to close the school effective immediately because it's a circus. The administrators run it like a zoo. And parents, please, if you're listening to this message, listen to your child. They have no reason to lie to you, and it's not their fault. I've witnessed it with my own eyes. It is not your child's fault. When you have administrators, teachers, and staff members who don't know how to address kids, the only thing they can say to a kid is, why don't you drop out? I'll be glad when you get arrested. You're not going to be anything. You're a loser and your parents are a loser. These are what things people have said to your children. And you should be upset. You should be upset. Because I've heard them. Some of them. And the child, your child, has told me what administrators have said to them. And you should be upset. Because ultimately, this is your child. Secondly, this is your tax dollars. And if you can't send a child to the school to be safe and to feel safe physically, mentally, and emotionally, then where can you send them? Where can you send them? And I'm not sure that the abuse will stop. The employee abuse, the child abuse. And I feel heartbroken, not only for my friend. I felt heartbroken because I really enjoy being with those children. Just as one lady said, I was masterful. One administrator told me I was masterful. But for the sake of my health and for the sake of my family, I resigned. March 8th, and my last day was April the 4th. Because I realized that the principal was toxic. He doesn't want to be there. So he makes sure everybody else is miserable there. So much so that the last month I was there, the last 2 months I was there, we had a mandatory movie. Mandatory movie. The entire staff was forced to watch a movie that wasn't educational related. They brought out pizza and popcorn. And people asked me, do you want any? And I said, no. I don't eat from evil hands. I don't eat from people with nasty habits and nasty traits and evil intent. No, I don't want any pizza. I want to go home. I want to go home. I don't want to sit here and watch a movie. And it was supposed to be a day of staff development You have teachers that don't have any classroom management. You have teachers that don't know how to activate a strategy. You have teachers that don't even know what a strategy is. And we're sitting here watching a movie that's non-educational related. And I said, you don't even treat children this way. And you are treating professional people with 4-year degrees, people with master's degrees in accounting, people that are PhD candidates, people with licenses in other fields. You are forcing to watch a movie on a staff development day that has nothing to do with education. I had it. I had it. I said to myself, I would not step foot in this door after April 4th. And I meant it. And I resigned. And I walked out. And I didn't even say anything to anyone. I want to tell the children that you can contact me. You can hit me up, because you're always going to find love. You're always going to find hope. You're always going to find encouragement. You're always going to find wisdom. You're always going to find knowledge. You're always going to find understanding. I believed you. I heard you. And with the best of my ability, talent, giftedness, and skill, I helped you. If you ever need me for anything at all, please feel free to hit me up and I'll reply. Let your parents know that I'm doing and I'm working on me. I'm creating a better me. I'm creating the life I was intended to live. And I need your support so I can continue to help you. Let your parents look at this video and listen to this video numerous times. I'm starting an organization called Project Success. You can view the page on Indiegogo.com. Indiegogo.com. That's INDIEGOGO.com. And you'll see my face there, Mr. Successful, coming to you live. I'm so sorry I can't be there for you. I'm so sorry I can't be there with you. I miss you. I want you to be encouraged. I want you to stay strong. And I want you to keep your dreams and your goals and your desires ahead of you. And work on them every day. Work on your dreams and your goals and your desires every day. Because if you don't work on your dreams, your goals, and your desires every day, somebody will hire you and pay you to work on theirs. You deserve so much more. You deserve the best. Keep your head lifted high. Be the best that you can be in school, regardless of what anybody has told you at any time. You have greatness within you. You were born to be successful. You couldn't be here if you did not possess the genetic code for success. You possess the genetic code for success. The only thing you have to do is tell yourself every single day, it's possible. It's possible that you will win. It's possible you will reach your goal. It's possible that your greatest life is ahead of you. You're not the blame. I know you're probably crying. I know you're probably sad that you feel no adult has listened to you. I heard you. I heard you. And I listened. But as Robert Frost said, as the two roads part in the forest, I chose the one less traveled by, and that will make all the difference in the world. This has been a heartfelt message. Look for more messages of how to start your day, how to be successful, how to be creative. They're coming soon. And I want to say thank you for listening. This is Mr. Successful, and I'm coming to you live from my office. I have a friend now that I got to attend to because she needs some encouragement now. She needs me now. And I promised myself between now and the day that the Lord calls me for a higher calling and to transition from this life to the next life, I'm going to help everybody I possibly can to live the life